This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Anything discussed during this podcast does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice. Instead, all content is for general entertainment purposes only. Listeners should contact their attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular legal matter. Listening to, contacting us, or any of the links or resources contained within this podcast and/or website does not create an attorney-client relationship. The views expressed during this podcast are those of the individual lawyers in their individual personal capacities only.
All the legal ladies, all the legal ladies, all the legal ladies, all the legal ladies.
Welcome to All the Legal Ladies. Unwind with us as we navigate the fascinating world of legal tales, precedents, and the occasional objection-worthy joke. I'm Kat, and here's Marsha, it's so a habit, and Alycia, and we have a special guest today, our wonderful associate, Tiffany. Woohoo!
Pride of St. Mary's County.
If you can tell, it is Football Friday on a Wednesday, because that is when we do it. So hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
We're excited to have you join us. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
You're just saying that because we pay you?
Maybe. No, I'm just kidding. Probably not enough to lie to our face.
So we're still getting over the Ravens loss.
It's very sad.
It is. But
Tiffany's a big fan.
Huge fan.
Huge fan.
Huge.
She's not even rooting for anyone in the Super Bowl.
I don't even want to watch it.
I watch it for the commercials.
I guess I'll watch the Usher concert.
Yeah. This will probably air after the Super Bowl, so it doesn't matter. I am going for the Kansas City, so we'll see.
Who are they playing against?
San Francisco 49ers.
I know we're going to watch it because my kids discovered that football existed 3-4 weeks ago, and they're very into it. So we will be watching it. I don't know if we're going to be staying up till the end. Yeah.
Should have been the Ravens, so it'll be boring.
Oh, no, it will not. Oh, my God.
But if it had been the Ravens, then people wouldn't be able to complain about Taylor Swift existing. So,
That's
it's
true.
important that industry continue.
Yeah.
They can continue to utilize her image for purposes that make her no money.
But make people very mad at her.
Yeah.
And makes the NFL money.
Lots of it.
That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of money, we can get into our next. It's time. I don't know what I'm reading. I'm sorry. We're going into the next on the docket. That is our section. That's what it's called. I'm sorry. But speaking of money, there's a law niche of guardianship or conservatorship, depending on which type of state you're in. And we want to talk a little bit about what guardianship is here in Maryland. Just keep looking around.
Well, since I'm the guest, I guess I'll say. So guardianship is a process whereby someone can petition the court for a minor or an alleged disabled person to manage their person and make decisions for them, whether that be medical or educational, sometimes for minors, or their finances for their property.
It's been a hot topic in the news these last couple of years, first with Britney Spears, more recently with Michael Oher, hence our
Ravens.
You want to talk a little bit about Michael Oher?
So people sure have seen The Blindside. And go ahead.
They ruined it for me.
Yeah,
ruined it for me.
Kinda. So Michael Oher's brought a lawsuit against the Tuohys, who he believed had adopted him, according to what he's listed in his court filings.
According to what the movie made it seem like.
Yes. But in all essence and in all actuality, there was a conservatorship, which is pretty akin to what we have as a guardianship. And he is claiming that they took lots of money from him in that process, millions of dollars even, and used his likeness to make themselves very wealthy.
Yep.
It's interesting to me, maybe crazy, and we'll see how it comes out in the end, that they were able to obtain basically a guardianship over him, which it sounds like Tennessee. Is that what we're
Yes,
talking
it
about?
was in Tennessee.
In Tennessee, just like in Maryland, the person has to be disabled. They have to be incompetent to manage their own affairs without assistance. And there was no allegation. In fact, it sounds like they allege the opposite. He was perfectly capable, but we're going to do it anyway. And it just slid on through.
Yeah. And he wasn't a minor, so it wasn't that they could have said he was under the age of 18.
Well, and it just kind of goes with the Britney Spears. I don't understand how the conservatorship lasted so long. Because here in Maryland, at least, like the guardianship is only for purposes of someone unable to manage or currently in the state of. And so theoretically, if they get better, it's supposed to end. So like the fact that it kept going is a little concerning.
It makes you wonder how much oversight the court has on these cases. I know here you're supposed to file, with guardianship of the property, you're supposed to file an annual report, a fiduciary report. And in Michael Oher's case, I don't think that happened.
Not one report was filed.
Yeah. And I think it seems like here there's a mechanism where if the reports aren't filed, then the person eventually is brought before the court for not filing the reports, and maybe it could be removed and have a different guardian and the property appointed instead. Of course, our guardianship laws were overhauled like maybe 2018.
Yes.
I want to say was the big overhaul. So I don't know as much about what the procedures were before then. If, this kind of thing would be more at risk of happening back then. It seems less so now.
Yes.
What struck me with Britney Spears, she's posting videos of herself dancing or, half naked or whatever all the time. And people are, pointing to that as evidence of why she should still be under a guardianship. It's like, it's not that you have to make decisions that everyone else agrees with or that everyone thinks are the best decisions. You just have to be able to make your own decisions. And, you might not spend your money the way people think you should, but nobody else in this world has to spend their money in the most responsible way. There's no one stopping me from getting takeout for lunch every day. Like I should have a guardianship.
Right.
That was the case. I would have needed a guardianship a long time ago.
Yeah. Or college students who open up their first credit card and go hog wild, it's just, there are so many people who, myself included along the way, have made some poor decisions financially and yet probably shouldn't have somebody making decisions for me.
Yeah. At the same time, though, how many guardianships do you really see out there that are ended? They're kind of few and far between. There's no, once the active part of the case closes, the appointed attorney is gone, they're out, and there's no one going through and checking in every so often and be like, hey, are you able to make your own decisions now? Would there be a less restrictive means? Nothing like that exists. So it can be a huge barrier to a person getting a guardianship removed.
It could be. I would say for us, what we see mostly tends to be people with long-term disabilities that are unable to ever come out of the guardianship, whether because they were born with it or some medical thing happened and that's how they are now. Usually I think I see more transfers because now adult 19-year-old that needs the guardianship, their parents maybe have died and moved on to a sibling or something like that. So, but I think it's just awful too with the Oher, especially, well, even with Britney Spears, that these are supposedly family members, right?
Right.
It just, money just sometimes seems to bring the worst out of people. We see that with divorce, right?
Sure do.
Specialize in family law here, and we see that a lot. Death, when we do estate administration, that can be an ugly time, and it all just revolves around money. So
It does. And it seems if without that oversight from the court, having those annual accountings, unless they fall out with each other, no one will ever know that there's things happening that shouldn't be happening.
So besides the annual accounting, do you think there's something the court can do or the legal system can do to make sure people aren't being abused or the guardians or the conservators are doing the right thing?
I don't know, unless it's keeping that appointed attorney on, and then that's an expense. Yeah. But that's an expense. Who's going to pay for that? Just to have someone outside checking in, aside from having yearly hearings, which also seems like a lot. But those are some things that potentially could be done.
Yeah. Law isn't perfect, but we're trying to keep it as fair as possible, right?
Yeah.
So
it's just interesting. You think of a person as high profile as Britney Spears, who's basically a very visible prisoner in a lot of ways. She had all that money and no ability to access it, no ability to hire her own attorney.
Well, and some of her allegations just went that extra step far that I don't feel like would apply. Like she talks about forced birth control, that she couldn't get married or have children. And that just is a step way too far. We don't subject anybody else to that. So I can't imagine why it's okay in a conservatorship to do that.
Historically, the law has done a lot of terrible things.
Historically, the law has done a lot of shitty things, including that. But we try not to do that these days.
Right. And it just makes you wonder how many other people are going through this that are not famous, that don't have the notoriety as Britney Spears or Michael Oher.
Yeah.
So abuse happens, unfortunately. People use the legal system to further abuse sometimes. And though we try to have laws and take corrective action, some things just fall through the cracks. But at least this is bringing attention. Yeah. And hopefully things will change.
Yeah. And hopefully positive attention too, because there are a lot of people out there, I think, that don't know guardianships exist, and it is an important tool. Whether we're talking about a parent that has gotten ill or a child that needs help beyond 18, like it's important to have those steps available. So protect them.
And you don't have to do it on your own. There are a lot of everywhere has an attorney. Some even offer pro bono or low bono, which means free or low fee services. So if you have questions, you can reach out to those firms or those organizations to talk about guardianship. We do guardianship here as part of our family law practice. So, and we also represent alleged disabled persons through a contract with the state. So in those cases, if they are fine, or if the people are found to need a guardian, we stay with them. So there are adult protective services, guardianship review boards. So that is a way to keep an eye on the guardianship case. But when it's a private guardianship, this is when things can occur, like the Britney Spears.
And on one more plug for our firm, and just in general, estate planning.
Yes.
Something that everyone should do, no matter what stage of life, older than 18, because you can say which guardian you would prefer if you become in need of one. And so estate planning, please do it and consider doing it wherever you may be.
And with that, it's time for recess.
Woo-hoo.
Recess.
Welcome to our game. We spin the wheel. Since you are the guest, you can spin the wheel.
What game are we
All
playing
right.
today?
What game are we playing?
I am scared. Okay.
Didn't even.
Okay. There we go.
Yes. Spin it like you're on Price is Right or Wheel of Fortune or something.
We did that. Lovely. We were told not to do the same one again.
All right, law of the land. We have to guess which state a law belongs to. If it's weird, I'm guessing Florida. Or Utah.
Okay. In which state is it illegal to dress up as a priest for Halloween?
I feel like I've heard of this one before.
It's got to be a southern state, right?
I don't know.
I don't know why it's just Oklahoma. I don't know. It's
Rhode
just really
Island.
random, but
Massachusetts.
I can see that.
that's a good one.
Tennessee.
So which state is it illegal to dress up as for Halloween?
Alabama.
Dress up as a priest for Halloween. So don't be a priest in Alabama. I mean, don't dress up.
The Legal Ladies podcast takes no position on whether you should become a priest in the state of Alabama.
Oh, goodness. In which state is it illegal to wake a sleeping bear for a selfie? It should be illegal in all the states.
It
But
should be.
Where's Yosemite?
I was like, Idaho? I'm going to go with Idaho.
Colorado.
That's what I was going to say.
We'll say it.
Okay, Colorado. I just feel like if we don't all pick something different, then it lessens our chances of being right.
you're sticking with
50 states. We're
Colorado?
probably still
Yeah, that's probably.
California. or Alaska?
Mm.
Oh, Alaska. It's Alaska?
Oh.
I think I remember that. I visited Alaska last year.
To be fair, she's the only one who's been there out of all of us. So.
That is fair.
And Marsha has had her arrest for waking a sleeping bear expunged from her record.
Oh my goodness. In which state is it illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub?
Where would donkeys be?
I really want
Arizona. I got that one. Arizona.
Why, though?
Why? Right.
I want to know
Yeah.
why.
What's the backstory behind this law? That's what we need to
There
figure
has
out.
to be a backstory.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Arizona, any other guesses?
You sound very confident. I'm going to stick with Arizona.
I mean, there's others down there, like New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Nevada.
You just sounded very confident.
Texas. I don't know.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Arizona.
Yes!
To be fair, I went to the University of Arizona in Tucson. But what's the backstory off camera? We were asking if they've received it yet on the donkeys in the bathtubs. I'm vamping slightly. Just hands.
The studio audience is looking it up now.
Okay,
Yes.
let's move on to childhood traumas then, and then we can come back to that, where we read wild case stories from attorneys on Reddit. We're going to let our guest do that. Thank you.
All right. Articled at a family law firm, thankfully moved on since. Worst I saw was a decades-long case. Husband had been in a motorcycle accident, suffered brain damage, has severely limited capacity going forward, got a huge settlement afterwards. Wife spent the next several years stealing the entirety of the guy's money and property by forging his signature or putting documents in front of him that he couldn't understand and telling him they were something benign so he'd sign it. She then forged a bunch of letters from a tax authority and convinced him he was about to go to jail and further convinced him to flee the country. He finally came back several years later to find out everything he owned was in her name, and one of the documents he was told to sign were divorce papers. Dude got left with nothing. I moved on before I found out how the story ended.
I want to find out how the story
I
ended.
know.
Like we said, money causes crazy, crazy actions.
Jeez.
I hope she ended up in jail.
Yeah.
Fraud, forgery.
If not, at least hell, if you believe in it.
How would anybody know?
That's sad.
That is sad.
Yeah. So that bathtub thing.
Okay. So apparently the law is based on a case that happened in 1924 when a donkey fell asleep in a bathtub and it headed down the river into a valley, like so it was outside. Locals had to haul the donkey back to its home and signed a petition to pass a law. In this case, this sort of thing would never happen again.
So the donkey fell asleep in the outside bathtub and floated down the
floated down
river.
to
Like
the
it
river.
flooded and then
It flooded.
down the river to a valley.
And the best solution they came up with that was to outlaw donkeys.
And this is why you should never make laws based on one incident.
Right.
Just like that. I mean, it's a narrow, daily tailored solution.
Did someone put the donkey in the bathtub?
Why was the bathtub outside?
It was 1924.
Well,
Like
How much rain did
yeah,
it have to get to move the bathtub with the donkey in it?
I'm fascinated by the donkey being able to float out of the bathtub and down the stream.
So if your donkey goes onto your neighbor's land and falls asleep in their bathtub, who's liable? Like, who has violated the law? The donkey can't violate the law. Did the neighbor violate the law by having their bathtub
Well,
outdoors?
Okay, so here
Is it an attractive nuisance?
it could be an attractive nuisance, but also animals are property. So theoretically, the owner of the animal would be the property destructor.
Because you
mover.
did
I
not
don't know.
secure your donkey?
Well, we do have leash laws for a reason.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and tune on out So thank you for tuning in to this episode of All the Legal Ladies. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. If you are watching us on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and listen to the audio on your favorite digital streaming platform.
And
Make sure to secure your donkey. We will see you next week.